I'm going to tell you the one main reason you keep questioning yourself after you've, maybe been ghosted while dating someone, or maybe you keep getting ghosted by different people, or after you get dumped painfully, right? Your ex walked away from you and you're flabbergasted, right? Or even if you're in that space of being stuck trying to understand why your partner in the relationship you may be in currently treats you poorly all the time and why you just can't figure out why they do you like this and so forth. Now, this is outside of you actually doing some things or notice you've done some things that you don't feel so great about, right? You feel like you didn't live to your own standards, morals, or principles, right? To where you think you do have something to be accountable for in the situation. And that's why you're kind of second guessing yourself, or you're really thinking about the situation and, oh my gosh, what did I do so wrong? Because you don't feel like you're operating the way you should have. That's one thing. But if that's not the issue and you feel like, hey, I operated the way I think you're supposed to, then the main reason you keep questioning yourself after someone else has done something or not treat you in a certain way or what have you is because you're trying to apply healthy logic and reasoning and even empathy to an unhealthy thought process, right? You're trying to use all of the sensible logic you would use, all the more serving and fair and caring ways of thought and the way you would go about the process that your ex or this person that, ghosted you or what have you, or, your partner and the way they're treating you, you're trying to apply the way you would do it with healthier reasoning and logic to their unhealthy way of operating. It's never going to work. And why do I say that their perspective is unhealthy? Because if you're left in a state or a space of confusion, right, to where you don't know why the person ghosted you and just all of a sudden stopped talking to you and just walked away. And let me say this within reason. This is if you guys maybe went on a few dates or whatever, and you started building some rapport to where at the very least, you would think they would let you know why they're not talking to you anymore, and not like you just met out randomly one night and, you guys kind of hit it off, but maybe it fizzled out for them quickly and they didn't see much there. They don't owe you that much and give me this whole drawn out explanation. But the main point is, even in that type of a circumstance, it's more of the unhealthy practice to just leave someone guessing or confused and you just disappear on them, right? Even if you don't really owe much to them, just to simply, hey, I don't think I'm really interested, or I'm not seeing it the same way that you are. Thanks for your time. I'm going to move on. Even something that light and that simple is respectable to treat another human being as a human, right? Empathy is in there. So whenever someone lacks those common decencies, right, just lighthearted things, they're screaming to you their way of operating in some way, one, two, or more facets, probably doesn't have the healthiest foundation to it. It lacks consideration. It lacks respect in the way that they operate. They're showing you through their actions that maybe they haven't gotten to a space of being healthy, healed, and whole enough to be fully accepting of themselves and confident to live in their truth and speak that to you no matter what, as long as they're being caring when they do say it, as long as they lead with love, to where they have more of an awkwardness with being honest with you, right? Or with people, period. Whenever it's something they think the other person doesn't want to hear, they're more nervous about saying their truth, so they'll more simply just back away or distance themselves or just disappear, because it's easier that way, right? They don't have to face that uncomfortable moment to tell you something that they don't think you want to hear them say. But that becomes an unhealthy way of thinking, because now that person's wiring in a conditioning to where whenever they do make it to a committed relationship with someone they do want to be with, they're not going to speak up on the deeper issues as transparent as they need to help resolve issues in their relationship, which gets them unhealthy results, which makes them hold on to things and harbor stuff and so forth, because they're scared of the fallout that may happen from living in their truth and speaking their mind directly, for whatever reason, to where it literally builds in sabotaging elements into their relationships in the future. So if you sit and you keep trying to ponder on why someone just stopped talking to you, you're trying to put rationale, right? Trying to rationalize their actions, you're trying to process it and put it through this healthy filter. If you wouldn't do that same thing and you would let someone know, hey, I'm just not feeling it or whatever, then you're going to get stuck every time trying to figure out what you did wrong, because you're trying to apply a healthier way of thinking to an unhealthy process. Then what happens? We carry this type of perspective into a situation where maybe we got broken up with, to where it seemed to come out of nowhere from left field. You didn't see it coming, or can't believe your ex just dumped you the way they did, or the way they went about it, or whatever the case is. And now you're so confused, you're upset, but you're also really questioning how bad could you have been for them to leave you the way they left you, right? How much could you really have screwed up, or how, what's the worst thing you could have done for them to really just almost seem heartless and just walk away so effortlessly without giving you a chance, and all the stuff that can happen in painful breakups that hits you suddenly, right? To where, again, you're thinking through how you would go about this process, the logic you would walk through, and the humanity you would have, and the consideration for the other party, and how you will go about doing it. And you're not getting that from them. So it makes you question yourself in the matter versus focusing on the person they truly are, and where maybe their way of thinking, operating, and so forth isn't so healthy in the way they go about things. Or this is why I added an empathy at the beginning. Maybe it's not even an unhealthy way that they went about doing it, if we can say that, right? I think it's kind of hard to separate someone doing something that leaves you in a space of confusion as being and it not being healthy, right? Or to say that it's also a healthy way they went about it, but you're left confused. They don't seem to match. But let's just say, to play devil's advocate for a minute, that what they did was completely healthy in the way they went about it. Well, a piece of something being serving to folks is empathy in the equation, right? Meaning whenever you're doing something that serves you first, is helpful to you, positive, loving, feeds your spirit, builds you up. And if you're going to truly say you did something that served you and it checked off all 5 of those markers, then it must serve the other people around you, right? It must you serve them too, so that it can feed your spirit. Because I know it doesn't feel good to hurt people's feelings, to walk away from someone. It doesn't feel good for them to be confused and not understand what's going on. It doesn't feel good to be a person that helped bring that experience to someone. So if their approach to how they dumped you lacks any empathy, right, to at least in the way they try to communicate it to you, or went about being considerate of how they presented it to you, or the way in which they gave you a chance to understand things, or what have you, if that's all missing, then why are you questioning yourself whenever their way of going about it doesn't even align with your values and how you would handle the same situation if the shoe was on the other foot? Where, again, you're getting yourself in the rough waters by assuming that the other person is going to operate the way you do. And so therefore, you're trying to process them through a filtering system that you live by that they don't, clearly, right? And the same thing to be said for those of you that are in relationships where you have a partner that's ongoingly treating you poorly, and you really can't identify any reason why they would want to do that, or why they do it. And you try to show up, you try to be better, you try to be great for them. Well, quite simply, maybe they're not healthy enough to treat you the way you need to be treated. Maybe their perspective and inner wounds and they have and baggage that they're carrying is blocking them from being able to do it in the healthier way that maybe you may be capable of. Now, it takes 2 to tango. So if you're with this person, you guys are on the same frequency in some way. So it doesn't mean you guys are at the same level of healedness or whatever the case is, but it means there's something within you that probably needs to be worked on that has you attracted to someone that could treat you the way they're treating you currently, right? But it doesn't mean that you can't maybe be further along in your journey in certain ways that they are not, to where your perspectives and your empathy you have and the way that you would handle certain circumstances may not have a more serving approach to it than the way they're operating right now, right? And so the more you keep questioning yourself, because I know it's really easy for us to sit and say, well, if I'm so great and I'm so valuable to my partner, why would they keep doing these things? And it gets you jammed up every time. But it will do that whenever you keep trying to process a healthier logic of loving on someone over someone that is not coming from a healthy space of trying to love on you. Someone that has certain wounds and certain, inner battles within inside themselves they're still facing is almost incapable of loving you the healthiest way and the most serving way that they should. See, to love someone, right, or to have love for someone or try to love on someone doesn't mean that you know how to actually love them truly in a healthy sense, because love at its core and its essence is only a positive endeavor, positive experience. If there's negativity woven through the experience you're getting from someone that's trying to be loving towards you, then it's not love in totality, right? It has loving components to it. But It has to be nothing but positive, serving towards you, and something that is considerate and so forth if it's actually going to be true love for you. So the biggest way you break yourself free of harping over what did I do so wrong to be dumped the way I was dumped, or why did they keep ghosting me like this and so forth, or why does my partner keep treating me this way, is by simply shifting the focus from yourself so much and looking at yourself as the core root as to the issue, and focus more on the person you were dealing with, really dissecting and breaking down who that person has shown you to be to you to this point, who they are and how they've operated, or what you can gather about their patterns or the way that they move and the way of thinking. And maybe even if you have more context to their backstory, right, give you more insight as to why their way of operating isn't in that healthier manner or something that feels like it makes sense to you, right? Take the focus off of self and really focus on the individual that you have the experience from to get more of a truth for yourself. And the more you do that, the more you'll get much better at shaving off or limiting or cutting down the overthinking that happens. Because this is one of the pieces that gets us so stuck whenever we're going through painful breakups, for instance. It's not that, oh man, the relationship ended and so forth. But if it ended abruptly or in this way that you can't imagine and so forth, you start questioning your role in it naturally, because you're like, oh, did I screw this up? Because I valued this person in this relationship. It ended. I have to figure out what I did wrong. And then you start raking your mind over the coals, trying to figure it out, trying to figure them out. Why would they do this? Because you're so puzzled on, I felt like I was so valuable and I was such a good person to them, and we loved each other and all the things. So where could I have done something differently? All the things, you start trying to see what you can do to change it, right? So the more you start focusing on where the real core of it is, if it was a confusing ending that you had, if you know why the person left you and stopped talking to you because you weren't showing up a certain way in the relationship, hey, you get that. That's on you on that part. If you know you were being a bit much when you were dating them and so forth, and it was just a lot for them to handle, and they started ghosting you, even though it's not right that they ghosted you, you already know why they ghosted you. Even if you're currently in a relationship with this person and they're treating you poorly, but you know that you kind of treat them poorly at sometimes, then you get why this is going on. But if you're truly confused, stop focusing on yourself and focus on the source that the confusion is coming from. Because if you do that more, you get way more clarity, and you can release yourself from the burden of trying to focus on what you did wrong, what you need to do, and focus more on catching the patterns of people that operate like that individual is operating, so you can avoid it going forward. So you can find people that operate more similar to how you do, right? Because that's the trick there. Find the discrepancy, right? The difference in the way you operate in that situation versus how they handled it. And that's where you'll find the differences in values. You want to focus more on finding people that align with the values and the way you would operate and do it, and the patterns associated. What are the normal habits of someone that carries the values you have? And that'll help you identify people a lot faster up front that will handle certain situations in the way they're treating of you with more empathy and consideration versus something that seems so cold and abrupt. If you need help learning how to actually gain better clarity in your situations where someone maybe has left you or treating you certain ways that don't seem to make sense, so you can have peace of mind and stop overthinking things and stop putting yourself at the burden of being the root of the problem, and see where the problem truly lies, then email or DM me the word coaching, as long as you're truly ready to put the work in. If you're not ready for one-on-one coaching, of the time or the space, then at least email or DM me the word revival to join my relationship revival hub community, where you can learn the same things I teach my clients one-on-one at your own pace on your own time. Either way, do something to get in the race. Let's get it.